and some people don't. But the fact remains that everyone is looking for Krishna. And according to their level of knowledge or the level of ignorance, they are seeking Krishna in their own different way. Krishna means all attractive. The Supreme Lord must be all attractive by definition, otherwise he cannot be the Supreme Lord. God must include himself within himself all attractive attributes. Everything that we find attractive in this world and much more must be within God. Otherwise, how can he be God? The nature of spirit is anandamayo abhyasat. By nature, spirit is blissful. Even the jivatma by nature is sat chit ananda, which means it is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And the spirit soul is only one small tiny particle of the Supreme Lord. Mamai vamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. So the tiny particle of the spirit soul of the jivatma is blissful by nature, anandamaya bhyasat, then we can imagine that the Supreme Lord must also be infinitely more blissful. So we are all seeking bliss. We are all seeking to move towards something attractive in life. So in other words, we are seeking Krishna, but we don't know the object of our efforts. We don't know whom we are seeking actually. But whether somebody is a devotee of the Lord or he is not a devotee, actually he is seeking Krishna. So Lord Krishna is describing here that as the different varieties of people try to approach him, he rewards them accordingly, according to their qualification, according to their capacity. So he says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante. As people surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Now, I would like to introduce a philosophical point which may appear to be a little dry. Normally in these Bhagavad Gita classes we do have some stories and some this and that, but sometimes you also have to go into a bit of philosophy. There are a few points which we have to apply our mind to be able to understand this philosophy of Bhagavad Gita very nicely. So for a while we will dwell on certain important philosophical points. The absolute truth of the Supreme Lord is to be understood in three phases, in three aspects. In the Srimad Bhagavatam there is a shloka which says, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. What this verse says is that the Supreme Lord or God is understood according to one's own vision in three different levels. The first level is called Brahman, the second level is called Paramatma, and the third level is called Bhagavan or the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Brahman means the impersonal aspect of the Lord. Paramatma is the localized aspect of the Lord who is situated in every living being's heart. And Bhagavan means the personality of God, the person Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we may give a very simple example to illustrate these threefold aspects of the one Supreme Lord. Just imagine that you're going towards a mountain. Let's say you're flying in an aeroplane and you're going towards a mountain. From a distance the mountain appears to be only a hazy spot. You can make out there is something there. There is a lump of matter. But you can't make out anything more. As you approach the mountain closer, you see that there is some greenery on top of that. So it appears to be a green mountain. But as you approach even closer and closer, then you can see that there is infinite variegatedness on that mountain. There are different varieties of trees, there is grass, there are huts and houses, there are people, there are birds, there are animals. So you see the different varieties. In other words, the mountain is the same, but it is a question of our vision. Depending on how far you are from the mountain will appear different to you. So therefore, spiritually also, God is like that mountain. And different people are observing God or trying to understand God from different points of vision. So somebody thinks that he is Brahman, somebody thinks that he is Paramatma, and there are some who understand that he is Bhagavan or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is called the transcendental realization of the Lord. So naturally those who are seeking God directly, they try to seek God in these three levels. But what about those who are not obviously seeking God? Those who are materialistic. They are also seeking God, but they don't know it. So among the different classes of people in existence, we can classify them into two categories. One is called the materialist, who is after material enjoyment, worldly enjoyment. And the second is called the transcendentalist. What do we mean by the transcendentalist? He is the person who is striving to transcend the material sphere. He wants to go beyond the sphere of material enjoyment. He says that this material enjoyment is for those who are less intelligent. He understands the temporary nature of worldly life, so he wants to transcend it. Therefore he is called a transcendentalist or a spiritualist. So we have the materialist on one hand and we have the transcendentalists. Now very obviously the materialists are completely in ignorance because they do not understand that God is controlling everything. They have no object of life. They have no idea that to become a devotee of the Lord is the goal of life. They have no spiritual knowledge whatsoever. So you may ask, how is it that they are seeking God? Because they are seeking pleasure, because they are seeking knowledge, because they are seeking eternal life. They are seeking all those things which are already existing in God. So these attributes are to be found only in God. So they are seeking God, but they don't know it. On the other hand, the transcendentalists are directly trying to seek God on the transcendental or the spiritual platform. And even among these classes of people, there is a gradation. Those who are seeking the Brahman, they are considered inferior to those who are seeking Paramatma. And those who are seeking Paramatma are considered inferior to those who are seeking Bhagwan or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even among the kind of transcendentalists, we have three. Who are they? Who are the three kinds of transcendentalists? Yes? Yes, who are the people who seek Brahman? What is the class of people called? The Jnanis. Those who are following the Jnana Marg, Jnana Yoga, they are called the Jnanis. They seek the Brahman. Who are the people who seek the Paramatma, the Lord in the heart? Yes, the Yogis. Now, we have devoted 2 whole sessions exclusively to discussing the Paramatma in the heart, right? And at that time we also discussed Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yama Yoginaha. So these yogis, they are trying to understand the Lord in the heart, the Paramatma. So they are the Dhyana yogis or the Ashtanga yogis. Then the third class of people who are seeking Bhagwan or Shri Krishna, what are they called? The Bhaktas or the devotees. So we can see that there is a gradation. So there are 3 levels of understanding the absolute truth, and according to that there are 3 kinds of transcendentalists. The Jnani, the Yogi and the Bhakta. And each is going to see according to his own vision. Now what is Brahman actually? Can anyone say what is Brahman? You've all heard this, Aham Brahmasmi, or you heard the word Brahman. But what exactly is Brahman? Who would like to say? What is Brahman? Bodily effulgence of the Lord. Very good. Brahman means, let's give an example. There is a sun. You see the sun every day, but not always directly. You see the sunshine and you understand that the sun is present. So sunshine is the bodily effulgence of the sun. The radiation coming from the sun is the sunshine. Now, when you go beyond the sunshine and you look up into the sky, you see the sun. So the sunshine has a source, and that is the sun disk. But is the sun disk also operating by itself? There is a predominating deity called the sun god. Just like when you come into this country, let us say there is a foreigner who comes into India. He comes in here and he sees that things are moving on. Of course there is so much chaos, but still things are going on somehow or the other. In fact, one Russian person came here, and as you know, Russians, at least they used to follow once upon a time, communism. And this Marxist philosophy is an atheistic philosophy. So they do not believe in God. So when this Russian man came here, he saw that there was so much chaos and so much confusion that he remarked, now I have begun to believe in God. Because it is only God who can run this country. Nobody else. Otherwise it is not possible that this country is staying together. And somehow or the other this country is functioning. So anyway, but still you come here, you understand that there is some control going on. So you are seeing the impersonal functionaries in various departments. The railways are going on, the transport is going on, water supply, this, that, everything is going on. But behind them there are people. So you understand that making all these things function, there are certain people. Similarly, the sun is a powerhouse. And behind the powerhouse there is a predominating deity, a person who is responsible for the functioning of the sun, and he is called the sun god. Now you may ask, how is it possible for somebody to live in the sun? You see, in the Bhagavad Gita it is described that this material body is made up of 5 elements. What are those 5 elements? Earth, water, fire, air and ether. This gross material body. And then there is mind, intelligence and ego. So in this earth planet we are accustomed to seeing bodies which are primarily made of earth and water. But there are other spheres in other dimensions in this material world where living entities are made up, their bodies are made up of different substances among these 5. There are other living, in other planets there are living entities whose bodies are made up of primarily of fire. There are planets in which the bodies are primarily made of air, bodies which are primarily made of ether. But because we have no conception of these, therefore we think that these things don't exist. So in the sun planet, in the sun, which is fiery, full of fire, the living entities, their body is very subtle. It's not like this kind of body that we have. If we go anywhere near a fire, we get burnt. You can't tolerate the heat even a few feet from the fire. But that is because we don't have the appropriate kind of body to exist near the fire. But those living entities who have a material body that is made of the fiery element, they are existing within the sun. So Vivaswan is the name of the sun god. So you have the sunshine, you have the sun globe, and you have the sun deity within the sun. So we understand by analogy that you have the Brahman, that is the Paramatma, and there is the Bhagwan Shri Krishna. So what is the main predominating force in the sun? That's the sun god. Similarly, in this entire creation, the Supreme Lord is a Supreme Person. He is a person, as we have discussed many times in the earlier parts of these sessions. That Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is a person, but he is not an ordinary person like you and me. He is a Supreme Person. But nevertheless, he is a person. And from him comes the Brahman, which is the bodily effulgence of the Lord. And this bodily effulgence is called the Brahman. And that same Lord Krishna expands himself unlimitedly to occupy the hearts of every living entity. Whether it's the ant or the plant or the human being or the animal, Lord Krishna is present as the Paramatma all over, in everyone's heart, and also in the atom. So in this way, Lord Krishna is a source of the Paramatma and is a source of the Brahman. So this is the threefold aspect of the absolute truth. Now, according to the level of people who want to understand God, God will manifest himself according to that. So to the person who is a jnani, the supreme truth, the Supreme Lord manifests himself in his impersonal feature. For those who are following the Dhyana Yoga Marg, the Lord manifests himself in that feature. And for those who are devotees, Lord Krishna manifests himself in his own self-same personal form. So these are different grades of understanding. We should know that the person who understands Krishna, the Supreme Person, is the highest, because he understands the essence. It is simply a matter of coming to know God very closely. Sometimes people ask the question, can I see God? Or can you show me God? Yes, we can see God, but we have to get qualified. The question is prapatti. Prapatti means surrender. Do we have the qualification of surrender? If we don't have the qualification of surrender or love, we cannot see God. Just like the president of this country. Can you and I simply walk into his office and demand that I want to see the president? You and I can't do it. We have to get a qualification. We will first have to go to the secretary, and then he may or may not give us an appointment, and then after a long string of formalities, ultimately we may be able to get an appointment. And that too just for a few seconds. Very difficult. Most likely we will be rejected. But the president's personal friend, he can walk into the president's cabin anytime he likes. He need not even knock the door. He can just go and come. Why? Because there is that loving relationship. So the question is, do you have that loving relationship by which you can see God? So the key factor is the qualification for seeing God is to develop that loving relationship. And that is what Lord Krishna is saying here. Ye yatha mam prapadyante. You have to qualify yourself to be able to see me. And according to the level of your qualification, I will reveal myself to you proportionately. So this formula, ye yatha mam prapadyante, is very important. It is a formula of reciprocation, reciprocal relationship between two people. A relationship can take place only between people. It can't take place between two dead things or inanimate objects.